Well, thank you all for coming. My name is Kate Chester, and I am the Community Relations Manager here at the PCC Sylvania campus. Thank you for coming to today's presentation, Kashmir, the Politics and History of a People. It's a delight to have you here with us, and we are delighted to have a special speaker today here with us. So first, before we get into some of the specifics of the presentation, I wanted to also note that today's event is produced by the college's internationalization initiative effort, and this is one in several events that has been produced by the faculty coordinator of the initiative, and that's Brian Hull here. So let's give Brian a round of applause. Woo! Brian has put a lot of work into this and has done a wonderful job. And this is an initiative that is also supported by Dr. Chris Chersell, who's with us today. She is the Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs, so thank you, Dr. Chersell. And a round of applause. So we have a treat for you. We have Dr. Naila Ali Khan with us, to Brian's left. She is a scholar on the Kashmir Valley and a visiting professor with the University of Oklahoma. In terms of background for you, Kashmir is seen as the biggest obstacle in terms of developing a friendly relationship between Pakistan and India. And in the Muslim world, Kashmir, perhaps after Palestine, is seen as one of the key places where Muslims have faced hardship for decades and decades due to outside influence. Dr. Ali Khan will address some of this in her presentation today. She is a native from the Kashmir Valley. She grew up there. She was born in New Delhi, India. In terms of her educational background, she, as I said, she's a visiting professor with the University of Oklahoma. That is actually where she also garnered most of her graduate degrees. She got her doctorate and her master's in English literature from the University of Oklahoma. She also has a master's in English literature from the University of Delhi in New Delhi, India. She's also an author of several books, The Fiction of Nationality in an Era of Transnationalism, Islam, Women, and Violence in Kashmir Between India and Pakistan. And she'll have a book coming out this coming September, Parchment of Kashmir, History, Society, and Polity. So without further ado, I think I'll turn it over to Brian and Dr. Khan, and we'll begin the conversation, and then we will have time for a Q&A with all of you. So as you listen to the discussion, think of questions that you have, and then when I get the green light, I'll come with a microphone to all of you, and you can pose your questions to Dr. Khan. Thank you.
Naila, a lot of people have with them a map here. Mm-hmm. So maybe you can situate us and talk about the geography of the area, the diversity of different groups in the area. Just give us a sense of the complexity of the situation.
Okay. Today, I will talk about the state of Jammu and Kashmir in India. As most of you know, I'm sure, India was partitioned in 1947 into the nation states of India and Pakistan. So there was no Pakistan before 1947. India was a British colony. Just before the British left, they divided the country, as I said, into two nation states. And that division or that partition occurred along religious or communal lines. So Pakistan supposedly was created as a country for the Muslim inhabitants of India. And India remained a constitutionally secular republic. At the time, in 1947, Jammu and Kashmir was a principality ruled by the monarch, Hari Singh. Soon after the partition of India, soon after India gaining independence and then the partition of the country into two nation states, the independent principalities around the country were required to choose a side, either India or Pakistan. The monarch of Kashmir stalled for the longest time because he wanted to maintain Jammu and Kashmir as an independent principality. That was a pipe dream that he nurtured. So he stalled, as I said, for a long time. But in October of 1947, tribal invaders from Pakistan, who were disorganized militia, but aided and abetted by the very well-organized Pakistani military, attempted to invade Kashmir. And in order to keep the invaders at bay, the monarch requested military help from India, which the government of India promised to give him on the condition that he would sign the instrument of accession that would enable the legitimate accession of the state of Jammu and Kashmir to India. Now, when the monarch signed the instruments of accession, he was told categorically that the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to India at that point was provisional, that soon after political stability had been established in the subcontinent, a plebiscite under UN auspices would be held in Kashmir.
Who told him that? Who gave him this is only...
Lord Mountbatten, as well as Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru of India. And the United Nations was involved. So the people were told that a plebiscite would be held under UN auspices, giving the people of Kashmir the right to either veto or validate the accession, right? But that promise has not been kept, has not been fulfilled. Now, the state of Jammu and Kashmir is a conglomerate that comprises diverse ethnic groups, diverse linguistic and religious groups as well. The Kashmir Valley, which is considered a prized possession by the governments of India and Pakistan, is predominantly Muslim. The Jammu province of the state of Jammu and Kashmir is predominantly Hindu. There are a couple of areas in Jammu that are predominantly Muslim, but by and large, Jammu province is Hindu. The Ladakh region in the state of Jammu and Kashmir is predominantly Buddhist. Now, the native language of the Kashmir Valley is Kashmiri. The languages spoken in Jammu are Dogri, Ladakhi. Godri is spoken in Kashmir as well. And the language spoken in Ladakh is Ladakhi. So it is a conglomerate, right, that was brought together through several invasions, through several treaties. And there is a lot of diversity.
And they're not, they're populated to different densities, right? Like the Leh Ladakh area is not as well populated.
Not as well populated as the rest of the state. Also, I want to point out that the Kashmir dispute was taken to the United Nations by the government of India in January of 1948. And after a ceasefire between India and Pakistan was finalized in January of 1949, the state was partitioned, with the predominantly Punjabi-speaking areas like Mirpur, Muzaffarabad, Gilgit, Baltistan, Hunza, becoming part of Pakistan, and the state of Jammu and Kashmir was politically assimilated into India.
And you can see this on the map where it says the line of control.
Right.
North of the line of control is what she's talking of versus south. So there's a lot to talk about, but I think one of the things that I want to get out at the outset is for them to understand, in brief, how Pakistan has affected the people of Kashmir, how India has affected the people of Kashmir, and then finally how U.S. Involvement has impacted the people of Kashmir. And the last one's very important because we can see Kashmir as this place that's far, far away and not connected to our lives, and yet I think it's more connected than most of us realize, so that's why I want to talk about all three.
I think in this globalized world, it's very important to keep in mind that everything is interconnected. Nothing is out there any longer. But countries have a huge impact on one another. Cultures, peoples have a huge impact on one another. Now, after the